Hey everyone, it's Trishna. Welcome to my new setup. I'm not going to be using this setup for every video, but I was planning on doing some pick a card readings pretty soon, and I bought this mat and I thought I would try it out. And it is a little bit busy, I'll admit, but we'll see how it goes. So in this video, I wanted to talk to you about the Virgo new moon, and we're going to be doing a Virgo new moon reading. And I also wanted to talk to you about the Beaver. So as you guys know, if you've been watching my channel for a little while, you know that I really love to talk to animals. I love to talk to nature, plants, trees, crows, my puppies, kitties, you name it, everything, snow. I love talking to the elements, and I find that I get some of the most profound and deepest wisdom from them, especially when I'm not looking for it. But anyways, today I was connecting with the Beaver. And what I received from the Beaver felt very in alignment to me with what the new moon in Virgo represents, what Virgo season represents. And so I want to share a little bit of Beaver animal magic with you and some of the guidance there, and then we will get into a tarot card reading for the new moon itself to see what energies want to come through. So when I was talking to the Beaver, basically beavers are this animal that is very much about preparation, planning, perfection, engineering, building, and spiritually they're often considered an animal that represents turning thoughts to tangible things. And the reason why the Beaver represents all of these qualities is because in the fall time, which is coming up soon, the autumn equinox is in, I believe, around September 22nd of this year, and that's when officially fall starts. But basically the Beaver in the fall starts putting together their dam to create their home for the winter. And inside their dams, they have underwater entrances that allow them to keep intruders out and also allow them to run into their homes if there is an intruder nearby and they need to get to safety. And when they build their dams, it's not just like one big hut. They have spaces for sleeping, like a bedroom. They have spaces for storing food, and they do their best to keep it warm. So there is that engineering component, the building component, the planning component, the safety component, protection component, and all of that really represents turning an idea, a plan, into something tangible that is also sustainable. And all of those qualities, in my opinion, in my connection to Virgo, are basically the same as what Virgo represents. Virgo represents a lot of different things, but Virgos are really about planning. They love to plan. They love to create systems and implement new systems. They love to work really hard. They love to build things. There are other qualities, of course, as well, such as they can be very critical of themselves and also very critical of others, and that stems from the wound of being very critical of the self. So a lot of other qualities, but to me, when I was tapping into the Beaver and then I did read a little bit about them, I was like, oh wow, it's so nice, it's so interesting how I felt connected to the Beaver in this moment, and they align perfectly with the Virgo new moon. Also, I'm like talking with my hands because that's how I talk, but like you guys can't see it, so I'm like figuring out this whole adjustment thing here. Anyways, so some things to take, some messages to take from the Beaver animal magic are to start thinking about what your personal winter looks like. And you can do that by looking up ahead and feeling into what you already know is going to happen for your plans. For example, I already know that I'm going to be vacationing in winter later this year, so you can kind of look at your calendar and know what's already up ahead. Also look at how you feel. Like, how do you feel about the end of the year? Because a lot of times the end of the year can mean a lot of different emotions for different people. There's a lot of different extremes. Some people feel really excited that we're getting to the end of the year for a variety of different reasons. Either the year has been really good and it's nice to kind of wrap it all up, or maybe the year hasn't been good and the ending of the year almost symbolizes an ending to whatever suffering happened throughout the year and the promise of a new beginning in the new year. Also, a lot of times holidays can bring up a variety of different emotions. You know, it's definitely a time of polarity, I would say, where some people are really excited about the holidays. It represents really good memories, warmth, gifts, comfort, spending time with people. Whereas other people who maybe don't have as strong of family connections, or maybe grew up in a toxic home, or maybe were shunned from their family for whatever reason, or maybe just for being who they are, they don't really associate the holidays as anything particularly special, or for some of them, maybe it's very painful. because it used to represent a time of good memories, and now it's something that they no longer can experience, or they can't experience in the same way, or it reminds them of family. And of course, there's also emotions all in between, like tension with the American Thanksgiving coming up and families getting together and, you know, all that good stuff. So how do you feel about the end of the year coming up based off of where you are right now? And what do you see on your schedule coming up for you, whether that's in your personal life with vacations or whether that is in your work life with what you know in terms of deadlines that might be coming up? So just kind of look at, and also what do you know about what's to come based off of things that you've read? For example, here in Texas, the Farmer's Almanac, well, why can't I say that right now? It's kind of the mix of the Canadian and the American that happens there. My A's are always a different pronunciation depending on the word and my mood, etc. But the Farmer's Almanac is saying that in Texas over here, it's going to be a very particularly cold winter, which of course, you know, we just had a big rainstorm over here. I think a whole summer's worth of rain in one day, and that personally affected me, and I haven't had hot water. It's another reason why we're doing this video like this, because I have not showered. I mean, I have showered, but I have not washed my hair in several days now because we don't have hot water, but hopefully that will change. So anyways, looking at the Farmer's Almanac, for example, I know that winter over here is probably going to be really cold, and judging by what happened in the past, so also reflect on the past and past cycles. In February of 2021, it got so cold, and the Texas electrical grid system, you know, that's a whole thing, but it was freezing and there was no heat. So knowing that, you know, that's something you can take into account as you plan, as you prepare, as you engineer your own home. Virgo's all about the home, to prepare for the winter. So maybe if you have a fire, like a wood kind of fireplace, wow, you might want to make sure that you have extra chopped wood. You might want to make sure that you have some non-perishables in your kitchen, etc., to prepare for that. Make sure your gas line is working. Make sure your roof is all good. You have extra blankets, you know, whatever it is. This gives you the opportunity to kind of think ahead. You know, Virgo likes to plan, remember? So this is all about thinking ahead and moving forward. Now, when it comes to career, you know, you want to look at that as well and see, okay, like, and look at your past patterns, right? So how do you tend to operate during the winter months? Some people tend to take it easy, you know, it's like being more relaxed, vacations coming, taking more days off. And in between that, you know, because of that, because people are taking more days off, work schedule can be a little bit slower for some people because everybody's out. So things aren't progressing at the same pace. So, you know, is that the way that you tend to operate? And if you do tend to operate that way, how does that make you feel? Do you feel rejuvenated after from your past experience? Or do you feel like you wasted your time? Do you feel like you could have spent your time better? Because what you do in that case is, if that's how you feel, is you still decide to relax because that's your natural rhythm. You want to honor your natural rhythms, but then also maybe do some more relaxing things that are also productive. Maybe right now, to plan for that, you can build out your book list, your reading list. You can build out your podcast watch list. You can build out your documentary playlist, or I think I'm mixing up your podcast playlist, your documentary watch list. And that way you're relaxing, but at least you're doing something a little bit productive in a way that's very relaxing and honors both the need to relax as well as the need to feel like you're productive after you've done that relaxing. If you're somebody who tends to work a lot more in the holidays, maybe you're in a particular industry where it doesn't slow down for you in the holiday months, you know, especially let's say if you are involved in retail, or even if you're in the corporate side of retail, you know, you may have a lot of things on your plate around the holiday months, and you may be working longer hours than usual. Or maybe if you are preparing to purchase presents for family members, you may be doing more overtime to get more money to be able to do that, because that can be a stress point for a lot of people. So knowing that in advance, if that's your typical cycle, you can plan for that as well. If you have the opportunity to do overtime now, or to budget now, or to save now, that might be a good idea. And that way either you can choose to not do as much overtime and relax a little bit for once, or you can choose to still do overtime and have a little extra cash for yourself. Yeah, and then also if it's like a corporate thing and it's just how your industry works, then you can make sure that you are working out, having a good, reliable workout plan that will support your busy schedule. You're making sure that you're eating good foods, healthy food so that your body is sustained and you're loving your body throughout this process, and keeping yourself as strong and sturdy as possible. So, all right, the last thing I want to talk about before you get into the reading. The other thing is goals, right? Because goals can be one of the reasons why we tend to worry about the end of the year or be really excited. If we have not been achieving our goals, we can kind of dread the end of the year because we're already feeling it. We're already seeing all the things that maybe we felt like we should have been doing that we didn't do, and we feel regret. Or if you've definitely been working towards your goals and you feel excited, excited about the next year. So think about your goals. You know, what goals did you set for yourself earlier in this year, and where do you stack up? Where do you measure up? And are there goals that you have not achieved that you still have time to? Take note of those and start focusing on that. It's not too late. We've got many months before the end of the year. If there are goals that, take note of the goals and see, are there goals that maybe should not have been goals in the first place? Maybe it wasn't realistic. Maybe it doesn't make sense in terms of how the last 6 to 8 months have played out for you. And maybe you should just cross them off instead of feeling guilty about them. And if there are goals that you haven't worked towards, are there any that you can give yourself grace for? Maybe you got sick more often this year than you thought, or something happened in your family life or personal life or friendship life or something like that that caused you to have to step away to focus on other priorities. And is there anywhere where you can give yourself grace? Because you definitely want to let go, and that might be more of a full moon thing, but you definitely want to let go of any self-hatred that you have. Because if you carry that with you, you're just going to doubt your ability to achieve your goals next year or the year after. And that kind of doubt plants a seed that makes it difficult for you to overcome that and actually achieve your goals going forward. So you want to let that go. You want to give yourself some grace. All right, so those are the Beaver messages. And now we are going to do a more new moon focused reading video. I'm using the Light Seers Tarot. Definitely one of my favorites. I think it's one of the favorites for a lot of people. If you haven't used it before or seen it, you might realize why when I get the cards out and we flip them over. Oh, look at that, jumpers. All right, let me just tune in here because I love to get the intuitive clairvoyant messages first. Spirit, please share with us any messages that we need to hear for the Virgo new moon to be able to set intentions that align with the energies that bring us greater success. Please allow us the discernment to know which messages are ours. What messages do you have? So I just spent a lot of time talking about preparing for winter. The message that wants to come through is don't feel like this has to be serious business all the time. Definitely have fun. Definitely enjoy yourself. You know, Virgos sometimes have a bad reputation because they can be very critical and very serious. Those are like the stereotypical kinds of descriptions that we give them, but they know how to have fun. And they definitely want to make sure that we know that and that we have a little bit of fun too, because the best laid plans, they do sometimes have to change, you know. The one thing you can plan for is that your plan's probably going to change. And in order to be able to adapt to that and to be able to move forward and not be so stuck in the plans that we have set, we need to be able to have a little bit of humor along the way. Go with the flow. Virgo energy says, yeah, don't put me in a box. I know how to have fun. Oh, nice. Just like I said, right? Wait. I have this flipped. Hold on. Ah, there we go. We know how to have fun. But we do carry a lot of burdens on our shoulder because we are the ones that have to. We are the ones that have to do that. Somebody has to do it. Not everybody can have fun all the time. Somebody has to be responsible. Somebody has to take care of society and make sure that processes are in place, that rules are set, and that they are fair, and that people are abiding by them for the good and greatness of all. And because we tend to step into that more serious role, even though we're not serious all the time, but because we're the ones that step into that when it's needed, we get that bad reputation because we're the ones that carry the burden on our shoulders. But we know how to have fun. So make sure that you have fun this Virgo season, but be smart about it. You know, Virgo's very smart, very intelligent. They don't do anything that's reckless, okay? They have fun, but it's with thought, it's with planning. They don't do anything that they haven't already pre-planned. So if there's like a new opportunity that's maybe outside of their comfort zone, they're not just going to be like, yeah, I'll do that right now. They're going to be like, no, you know, I'm going to put this to the side for now, and I'm going to go and think about it, reflect on it, do my research later and analyze it later. And then if I decide that I want to do it, then the next time there's an opportunity, I already planned that, yes, I will do it. But until I've done my research, until I know what I'm getting into, no, not doing anything reckless. It's definitely a time to make sure that you are, having fun, but making sure that it's safe, good fun. All right. So we just talked about how we're nearing the end of the year and we're taking a tally of our dreams, but I feel like with this 3 of Wands, what it's trying to tell us here is it's saying, yeah, you know what? It's good to take a tally of the goals that you had from earlier this year, but also honor my energy as though it's new because it is a new moon, and start setting new goals. You know, there are still 4.5 months left in this year. That's a long time. That's longer than a quarter. So make sure that, you know, as you reassess your goals, that you are also maybe thinking up new goals of what you want to do between now and the end of the year, or maybe something that you want to start on now to get ahead of 2023 or whatever year that you're watching this in, as all readings are timeless. And don't be afraid to dream. You know, Virgos can be very, very structured in their thinking, and sometimes given another stereotype that they don't really dream, that they can't be creative, but they absolutely can be creative. They are the engineers, as I said, when I connected them to the Beaver energy. So don't be afraid to be creative. Don't be afraid to clear the slate for a moment and see what new things pop up on the horizon that weren't there before. Make sure that you don't trap yourself with your plans and your structures. That goes back to speaking on being very adaptable. You know, we make these plans, but the best laid plans, they do often require a change as scenarios change. And Virgo wants you to be very flexible. Be open, be flexible, and you can always create a new plan based off of the new data, based off of where you are after changes occur. Don't trap yourself. This is also time to not be overly critical, because Virgo can be very critical of itself and of others. Definitely time to not be overly critical of yourself, because how can you succeed if you're always spending your time criticizing yourself and putting yourself down? Right? Some criticism is good. It helps us improve and see where we need to work. And Virgos are always wanting to improve, always wanting to work, always wanting to better themselves. So for that reason, it's good. But when it is out of balance and done too much, it holds us back. It does not make us go further. So make sure that you're keeping any self-criticism in balance, but also make sure that you're keeping any criticism of others in balance, especially when it comes to love, as this may be a time where tempers run a little bit higher, and blame may run a little bit higher as well. And it's important to speak very lovingly to our partners, because that is what is going to get us the best response and the best results. Also, if you are planning something that involves working with other people, maybe in a team, if you're a project manager or something like that, was it you catch more flies with honey? So keep that in mind as well. I think a lot of people are going to be wanting to speak very loudly. A lot of voices are going to be coming out. I think this is more on the news spectrum or political spectrum. I think there may be possibly more whistleblowers who are speaking about anything sneaky that's going on that may not seem like a really big deal when they first bring it up. Maybe like, okay, well, I could have assumed that, or okay, yeah, but like, okay, so what? It's really not that big. But I feel that it is bigger than it seems. Not anything that's unmanageable, not anything like super, super crazy, but whoever is speaking up about something that's going on, there's something to it. It's more than just how it seems. This is definitely a time to stay in balance. Be as balanced as possible. We talked about that in terms of the criticism, in terms of the goals, not just looking at the past and tallying it up, but also looking at the future and what we want to bring in. So being very balanced. A time of a lot of thinking. So sometimes with the Virgo energy, we can start to think a little bit too much. And when we think a little bit too much and we analyze a little bit too hard, we can start to lose our fire. When you have a really, really great idea and it's amazing and you're excited, and then you start doing research a little bit too soon, or you start analyzing a little bit too soon, or you talk to that one person that's a good devil's advocate, which is definitely a good characteristic or person to have in your life, but only in appropriate moments. If you bring them in too soon, they kill your idea, and all of a sudden something that seemed so promising and that was really inspired from within and that maybe spirit really wanted you to do, suddenly it gets killed, right? It gets killed, it's gone, and all of a sudden all the oomph and the fire that you had gets extinguished, and then that idea goes nowhere. So make sure that you're also staying in balance with regards to overthinking, overanalyzing, over-researching. This might be a time, this area, like when it comes to your plans and over researching, this might be where Virgo needs to be, or all of us need to be a little bit more reckless. So don't do anything crazy, but when it comes to maybe a plan or an idea that you have, maybe skip out on the research for about 2 weeks into Virgo season. You can do that maybe in the middle of Virgo season, but in the early stages, just kind of let the idea percolate, let it turn into something, let it grow, let yourself speak about it and be excited about it. You can always do the research later. Obviously, this is for like ideas and more positive things, that there are no detriments to doing research, or there are no detriments to not doing research. So we talked about this, the 10 of Wands, right? And I said, Virgo really carries these burdens, but I feel like what this is trying to say is Virgo wants to release the burden. So there may be some burden that we've been holding on to. It could be emotional, it could be physical, it could be something with work, taking on too much in terms of our schedule. There's something that we have been overburdening ourselves with. Maybe it's an ideal of who we think that we're supposed to be or who we want to be. Whatever that is, it's time to kind of soothe that, to let that go and to give yourself grace. Virgo is also very much about schedules and routines. And so this may be around the routine area, but however it applies to you, it's okay to kind of let that go a little bit. Give it some breathing room. It's good to have schedules. It's good to have routines. And Virgo season may kind of inspire a really good one that may be new. Remember, it's okay to change plans and not get stuck in them, and to change up your routines and things like that. But make sure that you are giving yourself grace. It seems to be quite the word in this reading, where you try your best to follow the routines and the plans. But if you don't, just assume that spirit is interjecting and allowing energy to flow through your plans so that better outcomes can be achieved. You may be over caring for somebody in your life. There may be maybe a maternal figure, someone in your life that maybe you're caring for. Definitely make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Definitely make sure that you are doing things away from that person so that you can rejuvenate, re-energize, because it's starting to weigh down on you and become a bit of a burden. This is definitely a time where I think you should do some serious self-care practice. Something that really allows you to take a deep breath. You may not realize that you are holding on to your breath until you take a deep one, and then you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize that I needed that. I needed to take a deep breath. I didn't realize I was holding on to so much. So find some way that you can relax, and that should become a part of your schedule and your routine for Virgo season. Is definitely making sure that you have something scheduled in every single day, or at least a few times a week or once a week. Don't do less than once a week, where you are taking care of yourself, where you are allowing yourself to really let go, whether that's taking a nice warm bath, whether that is meditating, whether that's going on a walk, whether that is talking to beavers, whatever it is, make sure that you are allowing yourself time to rest. Yeah, this is definitely not a time to overthink here. This is also a time to connect with yourself, because Virgos are pretty strong, and I feel like they really know who they are a lot of times, or they really know what they think, because they do a lot of research, like I was saying before. So when they've come to a conclusion, it is very well thought out, and there's not a lot of people who can sway their decision for the most part, because they've already done all the research. They already know all the facts. But, when you're very tired, when you're very overburdened, when maybe you're very overworked, that is when someone might say something and be like, oh yeah, maybe that would be better. Maybe I should try something different. And then you kind of get derailed. During the season, understand that whatever you know to be true right now is likely true right now, and is something that you should stick with for the next month. Unless something really changes your opinion, but really definitely listen to yourself. Don't listen to other people that might be sharing their opinions, because their opinions come from their personal experience, their past, their history, their view of the world, which may not actually apply to you. Because if you take their advice, which comes from their kind of consciousness, and then you and your consciousness try to apply the same advice, you're a different consciousness. So you're not going to apply it the same way that they would, even though you're taking their advice. You're going to apply it in a way that your consciousness can. And so you're going to get different results. So trust yourself during this time. The only voice that maybe you should be listening to is the voice of spirit right now, your higher self, guides, angels, whatever it is that you like to work with, because they will steer you right. So if you're confused, don't go asking anybody else right now. Ask your guides or someone who can access your guides. Definitely, like I was saying before, definitely make sure that you're having fun. Make sure that you are socializing. When Virgos are working really hard, sometimes they can forget about the social aspect, the people aspect just a little bit. That might sound startling or strange or surprising to some Virgos. For any Virgos listening to this, that no, I always care about people, because you do, because you care about people. You're very nurturing. You're very about the home, about taking care of people, about service. So you're always caring about people, but where is that caring coming from? If it's coming from a very stressed place, there's only so much that you can give. But if it's coming from a fun, free-flowing place where you have been nurtured, then you're able to give a lot more. This is not the time to do shadow work. I feel like I said that last Virgo season. It's not the time to do shadow work, because Virgos, everybody now is under the influence of Virgos, but Virgos can be very, like I was saying before, they love to work on themselves. They love to improve themselves. They love to be very detailed about how they do that. And so when it comes to shadow work, they love to dive in deep. They love to get very specific, and they can end up having a lot of things that they want to work on. And that's great. But during your season, Virgos, and for everybody else, this is not really the time to do that, because there are other heightened potentials that you have, that Virgos have, the Virgo in all of us, which is over criticizing, trapping ourselves in our own thoughts, taking on burdens that we don't need to. So this is not really the time to do that. You can do that once we hit maybe Libra season, where you will be in a more balanced place. We all will be in a more balanced place. Let's see, any final messages? Yeah, I think a lot of times when we are aware of what's going on, what's in the energies, that awareness allows us to release any hold that those energies had on us. So for example, if you have been carrying a heavy burden in some way in your life, somewhere in your life, now that you know that that's been happening, now that it's come to your awareness, or now that you've been validated in that, it's going to help you let it go. So a lot of this was a little bit, there's definitely positive energy, right? You can't deny that with the sun card. But a lot of the advice was very mental, right? Very analytical, very much of the mind. Assess your goals. Don't overthink. Don't do too much research. Don't do too much shadow work. There was things like have fun and make sure that you're caring for yourself, etc. But where's it going with that? Hold on. Yeah, so whatever was in here that resonated, that was like, don't do this or you should do this, that will actually be released for you in the sense that this now that you're aware of these things, you were able to liberate yourself. Liberate yourself. Look at her. She's liberating herself. You just have to hear it. Now you have. Any other final? Oh, yeah. Wish is coming true. I was totally feeling that too. Wish is coming true. So, yeah, this is definitely a season to work, but don't overdo it, right? That's the whole point, is definitely make sure that you are in balance. But whatever you work on, whatever you put your intentions towards, you are going to be able to achieve them. And you might surprise yourself with what you're able to achieve. You might surprise yourself with the kinds of connections that you might be able to make, or maybe even some of the help that you may end up getting from people along the way to help you with these things. So definitely keep your mind open, because there's definitely a lot of opportunity coming up here. And I feel like there was another message that wanted to come through. Yeah, so any goals that you're really close on that you haven't finished yet, or any goals that you think you can still achieve in this year, you might end up achieving it by the end of Virgo season. That's what I feel like with this. You may achieve it sooner than you think, or you may achieve it when you thought you would not. So yes, I would say listen to the Beaver energy, because yeah, if you assess your goals and think about what you can still accomplish that you haven't yet, there might be a pretty good chance that you can accomplish it after all. All right, so thanks for being a part of this process of testing out this. It is a little bit noisy, but knowing me, it's probably going to stay for a while. And I will change it up at some point, I suppose. But it's cool, right? It's got like sparkles and yeah. Anyways, final things to say are, if you would like a private reading, go to the link below. It will take you to my Etsy shop, where I have over 400 something readings that I've done just on there alone. I also live stream readings in other groups, paid readings. So definitely done hundreds more than what's on there. But I have over 400 readings on there, and I have over 163 reviews on there, and it's 5-star ratings. So if you're looking for a reading or guidance on your path or for the year to come, check that out. And also, if you are a light worker trying to figure out your purpose, your destiny, your direction, or your divine gifts, I have a course that is completed now fully for light workers. It's called it's like a light codes activation, spiritual activation course, and the link is below. You can access it at thinkific.com. That's the link below. And that is everything, and I will catch you guys in the next one.